Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Tamisha Ford and I'm the founder of Discernment Lab. We're an education company advocating for discernment out here in these discernment-free streets today. So today I'm going to do something kind of different, and I want to talk about 8 hidden powerful traits of highly discerning women. So if this topic interests you, stick around and let's get started. So the first trait of highly discerning women is that they tend to have very small circles. These women are typically not going to have large groups of friends. So they have very small circles. They're discerning of both men and women alike, but in different ways and for different reasons. And that's usually just what you would imagine needing discernment for with a group of women versus a group of men. And that's what it's going to look like for her. This woman is the opposite of the Jezebel spirit who looks to seduce. The Jezebel spirit is a seducing spirit, as I've talked about on this channel. And this woman is the opposite of the Jezebel spirit. She actually looks to discern. She's always pretty much on the discernment prowl. Discernment is her daily cape. This is what she wears. She wears it on Zoom calls. She wears it on Teams calls. She wears it to church. She wears it to hang out with friends. She wears it in public. She wears it at all times. So she's not looking to seduce anybody. She's looking to discern everything. She knows one reason that really discerning women don't keep large circles is because she knows that large circles equals large problems, especially when it comes to women. This doesn't mean she can't have a lot of friends, but we're going to talk about that a little bit more later. But typically, she's going to have a very small circle, period, end of sentence. She also does not keep a large group of men friends, as some women are accustomed to doing or think is okay. Now, I'm not downing the things today that I'm comparing to highly discerning women. I'm just letting you know that they make different decisions. And in most cases, I'm going to let you know why they do that. In this case, she's just very discerning because she knows that the opposite sex is probably not often going to be just a friend. It's going to be a man who's interested in her. It's going to be a man who wants to pursue her or want to be involved with her, something to that end. Now, to each his own on this, but from my experience, really highly discerning women do not keep large groups of men friends, if any at all. Her circle is small but mighty. Okay, it's the little circle that could, yet it is very mighty. And it's likely the people in her circle are likely people that she's been involved with for years and or been connected to for years, and she trusts implicitly. Anyone on the outside of that is just an acquaintance, or she's being cordial with that woman. And there's nothing wrong with that. I'm just letting you know. Her circle of people who actually know what's going on in her life is extremely small, if you could even call it a circle. It's not even really a circle. This woman is very discerning with who she spends time with and how and who's involved in that. Number 2, Observance is her middle name. Observance is her middle name. This woman watches everything. Everything. She watches the seen. She watches the unseen. She is a master of subtext. She's a master at body language. She reads people like encyclopedias. She knows how to watch a person and ascertain so much from observance alone. She is literally the lioness in the wild. She is like a wild cat in how sharp her senses are, whether verbal or nonverbal. Nothing gets by her. Even the things that people think she doesn't notice because she never says anything about it doesn't mean she didn't notice it. It just means she chose not to say anything about it. This woman is very discerning. She picks her battles, and she often does not let people know that something bothered her. And if she does let you know, you can be sure that it really bothered her, because she is so good at picking her battles. And she's good at understanding when to speak about certain things and when not to. She's highly intuitive. Okay? She also watches how people speak to her. She watches how people speak to others. And she watches how they navigate through the groups that she's in. She will notice someone who acts different with one person from another. She will notice if one person's body language changes when they speak to this particular individual versus when they speak to that one. Like, nothing gets by this woman. She observes how people navigate their own discomfort. Do they fidget? Do they play with their nails? Do they tap their knee 5,000 times an hour? She observes these things, and she picks them up and she notes them. She's just taking a lot of mental notes. This is a woman who takes a lot of mental notes. And one of her mantras is that observance leads to good discernment. The more she observes, the more discerning she can be. And this is how she rocks. And she makes better decisions than most people because of her level of observance, because her awareness and her observance and her skills, both verbally and non-verbally, are so acute. She makes better decisions in general based on that skill level and based on her ability to navigate rooms, read the room that she's in. She can read the room she's in and the room next to her. She doesn't even need to be in a room to read the room. That is the level that she thinks on and observes on. Number 3, she's extremely sensitive to the spiritual realm, but especially the demonic. So when I say sensitive in this sense, I don't mean soft. She's not soft. She's sensitive. Sensitive meaning she's acutely aware. It goes back to that observance. Her senses are extremely sharp. She's acutely aware. That when I say sensitive, I mean sensitive. She can pick up on things that most people can't. It is highly likely that these women have the gift of discerning spirits, or what we call the gift of discernment. They can walk into the room and they can sense spirits such as fear, lust, Leviathan, Jezebel, divination, jealousy, heaviness, haughtiness, Antichrist, poverty, death, and more. And she's just very aware of the demonic realm and how the demonic works and how these things work in the spirit realm. She has a very sharp awareness of how the demonic moves and how that world works. And she's not afraid of it. Whereas A lot of people don't want to talk about the demonic. A lot of people don't believe in the demonic. And so she's okay with this world. She's comfortable with it, and she's very discerning. And she knows what she's dealing with when she's speaking to a person. You can definitely bet that. Now, you might ask why this would be. Why would highly discerning women have the gift of discerning spirits? It's because of what she's been through in her life. Now, I want to be clear with that. A gift is a gift. Yes, absolutely. God gives us gifts. And it's not by merit or because something happened in our life. So I want to be clear with that. The gift of discernment is a gift. It's a gift that God gives. And we've looked at that numerous times on this channel in Scripture. What I'm saying is that because this woman has been through so much in her life, that gift is super strong in her. Maybe more than the next person, just because of the things she's been through in her life, which could include things like trauma, abuse, abandonment, divorce, anything difficult, sinful, hard, traumatic, or abusive. Those things, because of how they affect the human body, interact with the spiritual gift and thus make her gift that much more potent. I hope that makes sense. I am not saying that because of certain things we've been through, some of us have this gift and some don't, because a gift is a gift. If God gives you a gift of discerning spirits, you have it. But as you move throughout your life, and these experiences that she is accumulating are sharpening, the physical experiences are sharpening the spiritual gift that's already within her and making it that much more potent in how she shows up and how she deals with people. Okay? Once these women get close to the Holy Spirit, they become very, very sensitive to the demonic, even more so. So, as an example, at least with me, I can be in a room and have my back to the door, like I do right now on this video. And if I was like at a party or something, or a gathering, and someone could walk in the door who had a spirit on them, and I would be able to sense that without ever making eye contact with the individual or even knowing who they were or even knowing their gender. I might not even know if it's a male or a female, but if I sense the spirit of Jezebel in the room suddenly, I would know that someone that just showed up has that spirit. That is a very common thing with highly discerning women. Moving on, number 4. Highly discerning women are very feminine, alluring, sensitive, as we've already discussed, yet they are tough as nails. Highly discerning women embody femininity exactly the way God created it to be. And what is that? She attracts and approves. Thank you, R.C. Blakes, for teaching me that. She attracts and approves. She does not chase. She does not pursue. She attracts. She approves. That is the feminine role. She receives as much or more than she gives. Okay, she knows how to receive. The feminine is the receiver. She's supportive of the masculine and is careful how she speaks to men. Okay? Regardless of what they've done to her. This does not mean that she minces words. This does not mean that she doesn't express herself. This does not mean she does not have boundaries, that she's not verbal and she doesn't express her opinion. What this means is that she is careful how she speaks to men, understanding that they are as much a human being as she is. And though they show up differently in their masculine energy, they deserve the same level of respect as a human that she would expect as a human. This woman does not need to use manipulation to get what she wants. Okay? She doesn't need to manipulate and play mind games. She is in her body and in tune with her body at all times. She is sensitive in every way. The sensitivity that I keep mentioning and talking about translates across the spectrum. So she's sensitive. She knows that if she doesn't normally have headaches and she's having them more lately than normal, that something's off. That's what I'm talking about by being in her body. She knows if she's way more emotional than normal and it's not her time of the month, she's going to notice that. She's going to take note of that and continue to take note of it. And if it continues to be an issue, she knows that she needs to go get looked at or have something checked out. So she's in her body and in tune with herself at all times. These are highly discerning women, are very paradoxical, complex women. These women don't and can't deal with everybody because it has to be a person who understands paradox. And what I mean by that is that she could want two opposing things in equal intensity at any given time. Okay? And what I mean by complexity is that things are not always as they seem on the surface with her. So if you're dealing with a highly discerning woman, you need to understand that she is complex. And again, that complexity comes from her experiences. Those are the things that make her complex. When we go through complexity in life, this can be anything from trauma to abuse to mistreatment to rejection to father wounds, you name it. Whatever she's gone through is what makes her complex because she deals with and sees the world through that lens. And if that lens is not simple, easy, gold spoon in her mouth, life of privilege, right? Then she's not going to react and see the world that way. She sees it through the lens of that complexity that she's been through. That is her lens. And these types of women make them, their discernment makes them always opinionated, but classy. She's assertive. She's not aggressive. And she's confident in how she shows up in the world. She can handle a lot. And she always chooses her words about everyone carefully. She always chooses her words carefully. Number 5, highly discerning women are peaceful, clear, and discerning. I don't know how many people have told me in the last year or two that when they're around me, they feel calm. Another word I've gotten is peaceful and at peace is another phrase that I've gotten. And this is because internally she's harmonious. Highly discerning women they've typically worked on themselves a lot because she likes spending time alone, and that's when she regenerates. And so that internal harmony translates externally. The work that she does in here translates out there. The time she spends with God in the secret place to calm her inner space, her heart, her mind, her spirit, is going to translate externally so that when you're around her, you feel that naturally. It's natural. It isn't forced, and it shouldn't be. And a lot of women try to replicate what they see in discerning women because it is so attractive and it's alluring. And I don't mean that in a sexual way. I just mean human to human. It attracts people to you. She's almost always calm. It takes a lot to make her angry and rattle her cage. She can tell you where she's been, where she's headed, and who's allowed to go with her. And she can give you an opinion on every topic, if you ask her. And she can explain her position on every topic, if you ask her. There's always context for these women's experiences. And she will not tolerate drama. This woman is not involved in drama in any way, shape, or form. Remember, I talked about her circle being small, her observance levels, all of that translates to the no drama thing. She doesn't operate in drama. She doesn't like drama. She's not interested in drama. And she doesn't want anything to do with drama. Drama-free. These are drama-free women. And at the first sign of drama, she will calmly address it and contextualize it through her experience. She will show empathy. She will show boundaries if needed, assertiveness, whatever she needs to apply to the situation. She will apply it and she will move forward. But it will be a requirement that that drama that came in the door goes out the way it came. Trust and know that and believe that. These women are very discerning about drama, and they don't want to hang out with people who cause drama, who stir up dissension, or who love discord or plant seeds of discord. Number 6, she's dressed. Well, this is my favorite point, and I just want to say, Lord, please help us. I'm not even saying that in vain. I'm literally asking the Lord right now, please help us, because, and I completely stole this word from Candace Owens, but Lord help us, we are in a hopocalypse. We're in a hopocalypse, and we've been in it for some time. And one of the reasons I got off social media is because I would hear about particular women. And I don't want to go to your social media and feel like I'm having sex with you. I don't want that to happen. I don't want that to be a thing. That's disgusting to me. I don't want that to happen. So we're in a hopocalypse. We need holistic clinics that offer hotel level prices for these hoes so we can rehab these women out here today. We need some major hoe therapy. And I know some of you are probably laughing right now, and some of you probably can't believe I'm using that word, but there's no other word to use. And I'm also with Candace Owens, and then I think we need a hoe hunting service. I think this needs to be an actual business that someone starts. And I'm not saying that I would work there, but I would volunteer, probably on the weekends, to go hunt hoes. I would actually like to go hunt hoes. And we would go out on a bus. This is what she proposed, and I'm just repeating it because I thought it was brilliant. We would literally have a hoe hunting service. We would go out in our bus. We would hunt hoes, bring them to our hotel level pricing holistic clinic to give them hoe therapy. And we would turn them back out into the streets, rehabbed, knowing and loving Jesus, presenting themselves like queens, and with clothes on. They would be fully dressed. They would no longer be hoes. We would work with the Lord to deliver these women from this horrible hopocalypse that has taken over the world. And I'm over the hopocalypse. I want out of the hopocalypse. And so let's just be clear about something. Let me get my Bible too. Jesus isn't coming back for man hoes or woman hoes. Jesus isn't coming back for hoes. Jesus is coming back for his bride. That's who he's coming back for. And I hate to tell you this if you happen to be a hoe watching this video, or if someone sends it to you because they think you're a hoe. I don't know. But that kind of woman doesn't qualify as the bride of Christ. It's just not in here. Ephesians chapter 5, 25 through 30. I love this so much. For husbands, this means love your wives just as Christ loved the church. He gave up his life for her to make her holy and clean, washed by the cleansing of God's word. He did this to present her to himself as a glorious church without a spot or wrinkle or blemish. Instead, she will be holy and without fault. In the same way, husbands ought to love their wives as they love their own bodies. For a man who loves his wife actually shows love for himself. No one hates his own body, but feeds and cares for it, just as Christ cares for the church. And we are members of his body. I love that. There's nothing in here that talks about hoes and the whole lifestyle that we see out here today being who Jesus is coming back for. And I know some of you don't like that language and you think that it's harsh, but I just don't know what else to call it. Actually, there's worse words I could be using. That's a nice word to me to be using. Discerning women are not hoes. She is dressed at all times. She's classy. And because of that, she gains respect in every room she enters, just from modifying this one area of her life. Even people who don't want to respect her do, because of the way she presents herself. I saw a video the other day. I do not remember her name. She's on YouTube. She's very popular. She looks like Nicki Minaj in the face to me. I don't know her name, but she got saved and she's amazing. And she talks about all the changes that she's made in her life, just books she threw out and all of this. But I think the video that got me the most, that I loved the most that she did, was she talked about how she changed how she dressed. And she's coaching young women now to say, the reason that you don't get respect when you go out and when you're doing things is because you look like a hoe. And when you look like a hoe and you present yourself like a hoe, you get treated like a hoe. If you want to be treated like a woman and a queen, then you need to present yourself that way. Every man watching this video or under the sound of my voice should read Proverbs chapter 5. But I'm going to go ahead and read it for you in case I know that you might turn this video off and not actually read it. My son, pay attention to my wisdom. Listen carefully to my wise counsel. Then you will show discernment, and your lips will express what you've learned. For the lips of an immoral woman are as sweet as honey, and her mouth is smoother than oil. Smoother than oil. But in the end, she is as bitter as poison, as dangerous as a double-edged sword. Her feet go down to death, her steps lead straight to the grave. For she cares nothing about the path to life. She staggers down a crooked trail and doesn't realize it. It's talking about being drunk. So now, my sons, listen to me. Never stray from what I am about to say. Stay away from her. Don't go near the door of her house. If you do, you will lose your honor and will lose to merciless people all you have achieved. Strangers will consume your wealth, and someone else will enjoy the fruit of your labor. In the end, you will groan in anguish when disease consumes your body. You will say, how I hated discipline. If only I had not ignored all the warnings. Oh, why didn't I listen to my teachers? Why didn't I pay attention to my instructors? I have come to the brink of utter ruin, and now I must face public disgrace. Drink water from your own well. Share your love only with your wife. Why spill the water of your springs in the streets, having sex with just anyone? This is the NLT translation, by the way. You should reserve it for yourselves. Never share it with strangers. Let your wife be a fountain of blessing for you. Rejoice in the wife of your youth. She is a loving deer, a graceful doe. Let her breasts satisfy you always. May you always be captivated by her love. Why be captivated, my son, by an immoral woman, or fondle the breasts of a promiscuous woman? Maybe that's what I should be saying instead of hoe. Promiscuous woman. Okay. For the Lord sees clearly what a man does, examining every path he takes. An evil man is held captive by his own sins. They are ropes that catch and hold him. He will die for lack of self-control. He will be lost because of his great foolishness. That's my message to men today. My message to women is just a few chapters over. You may have heard of it. Proverbs 31. But I'm not going to read the whole chapter. I'm only going to read a couple verses. Proverbs 31, 25 through 26. She is clothed with strength and dignity, and she laughs without fear of the future. When she speaks, her words are wise. This is the discerning woman. And she gives instructions with kindness. So it's very clear here in Proverbs. Solomon did a great job of warning men of the apocalypse and admonishing women what kind of woman they should be. And that being a discerning, wise, dressed woman means something. Number 7, the discerning woman talks to God about everything. This woman, married or unmarried, recognizes her need for God and her total dependence on Him. Too many women out here are in codependent relationships. And it pains me to hear a woman say that she's totally dependent on her husband. Because what that tells me is that your priorities are a little bit out of whack. Because yes, a woman should submit to her husband. I fully believe the biblical context of that. Submission is a whole different conversation. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about dependence. Yes, maybe your physical needs appear to come through your husband, but that is a perception problem. Because we should always, as women, know and understand that our sustenance comes from him. And whether I have a husband or whether I don't, my sustenance comes from him. If he gives me a physical man who provides for our home, I need to understand as a woman that there's someone behind that. I am not dependent on the man. I am dependent on the God behind the man, actually above the man. Biblically, God is above the man. God is above the man, and the man leads the home. That is the biblical design. That's God's design. So where we've gone wrong in this society is women reframing that to think that they are dependent on the man. No, you're not dependent on the man. You're dependent on the God of the man and the God who should be leading that man. This is such an amazing order that we don't talk about anymore. And any other order doesn't make sense to me. God is the head of the man. God leads the man. The man turns around as a result of his relationship with God and that order and leads his home and his family. And that is what the woman submits to. Again, I'm not submitting to you as much as I am the God above you. And we could talk about this for hours, but I just want to reframe for all women everywhere that men are valuable, men are important, and men are used by God just as much as women are. That we need to be discerning in how we speak to them. And that we need to understand that we are not dependent on a man, we are dependent on God at all times. And that he is our provider and he is our sustenance. And if you think about it, that makes so much sense because that way, whether there's a man present or not in your life, he is your provider and he is your sustenance. Perspective. Discerning women have perspective. And the church is called the bride of Christ, yes, but I also want to correct something else that's taught wrong, which is this, especially to single women, which is that God is your husband. God is not your husband. God is your father. God is your father. He may or may not give you a physical husband, but God is not your husband. You don't have sex with God. That is out of order to even say that. That's not biblical. God is not your husband. God is your father. And he's a good father. And this is a huge distinction that needs to be made. Discerning women talk to God about everything. We take everything to him because we recognize that he is our sustenance. He is our everything. He is who we worship. We don't worship a man. We worship the God above the man. At all times, in everything. And finally, number 8, discerning women, they go unthanked. They overgive often. And they are often hidden in society. Because these women are discerning, they are careful with praise, celebrity, influence, affluence, and attention. She always puts these things into perspective, and they never rule her. She would rather have an opinion that is deeply rooted in her values than to be popular. She could care less about popularity if she has to leave herself at the door. She won't do it. I need my value system intact and my ability to express an opinion more than I need your approval. That's how a discerning woman thinks. And because discerning women are sensitive, often empathic, a lot of them are empaths, and aware, they have that self-awareness, they can also overgive really easily. This is something that really discerning women have to watch carefully to ensure full reciprocation from everyone in her life. If I talk to a person for a little while, whether it's friendly or romantic or whatever it is, and I don't feel reciprocation from that, deuces. Because I'm discerning that there's not an equal level of interest here. Any kind of relationship. Discerning women ensure, before they move forward, they ensure full reciprocation from the people in their life. Often, how she contributes to society, to her church, to groups, to people, to her relationships is overlooked because it's discerning and it's not loud. She's not loud about the way she serves. She's careful, she's strategic, and she often creates and executes alone. There's 2 hidden figures like this woman in the Bible. And I'm giving you homework and I want you to study it. I was going to read it all, but I'm running out of time for this video. So I want you to study 2 prophetesses in the Bible that you've probably never heard of. And that's why I'm using them in this example today, because they were very discerning women and they both happen to be prophets as well. Often discerning women don't only have the gift of discerning spirits, but they're almost always prophets as well. Not always, but often. So there's 2 women in the Bible. One is Huldah, Huldah. I'll put links in the description to 2 articles I want you to read. I want you to read about Huldah, the prophetess, and I want you to read about Miriam, the prophetess. Miriam was Moses and Aaron's sister, who is hardly ever mentioned, yet she's the reason. It was her prophecy that was fulfilled. And with her 2 brothers, she helped lead her people through 40 years in the desert on their way to the promised land. She prophesied that that would happen. We read about it in scripture, but no one talks about it, right? These women are hidden in society, but they're extremely important. They're very strategic and very discerning, how they show up and how they serve. So I hope you enjoyed this video today. I hope you learned a lot. I loved talking to you about this today. And if you know a discerning woman, if you have a discerning woman like this in your life, this is really going to help you to know her better and know her more. And I thank you so much for being here today and hanging out with me to the end of the video. I have an event to go to tonight, so I need to get out of here. I love you guys. Thank you so much for tuning in, and I'll catch you next time at Discernment Lab.